don't you kick us off?
All right. Hey, welcome back. It's Friday. It's Friday at 4 Eastern Time. It's Greg and Art. Ask us anything. Another thrill-packed 60 minutes of barbarous questions and craziness. I'm here with Art, my buddy. Today is what? Oh, it's March 1st. Yesterday was Leap Day. 4
Yeah,
years till the next one.
one extra day, right?
One extra
Hey,
day. Yeah.
so here's a good question for you, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Who was the dumbass that added one extra day to the worst month of the year? I mean,
Well,
why couldn't we have an August 31st, right? Maybe sometime in the
that's a
summer
good
when everybody's
question.
off.
Huh.
Why would you add to the coldest month of the year pretty
Well,
much across most of the continent?
yes, in the northern hemisphere for sure. And
Correct.
that's where, it was a Pope Gregory.
Oh, really?
Yes,
Good one.
it's called the Gregorian calendar.
Hmm.
So, and there was science behind it, right? Because it would eject. I mean, of course, now I know all this because the last week, that's all been
They've
hitting
been
the waves.
talking
What's
about, right.
leaked? Yeah, 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 yeah. And
After 100 years, March would have been in August or September.
yeah, it all made sense to me, and then I forgot about it. So yeah, some pope named Gregory did it, the Gregorian, and that's why some scientists still believe in BC and AD, right? As
Right.
2000. There's another. I don't even know what it's called, but there's another. I'm gonna say it. Another politically correct way to refer to AD and BC, and I don't remember this. But who was it? Neil deGrasse, that guy, that science guy, not Bill Nye, but the other dude. He was going off on it. Well, I know I call it AD and BC because it's the Gregorian calendar, and this is the most significant piece of science that affects every human being that's ever been on the planet for the last 2,000 years.
Right.
Oh, well, if you put it that way, then okay. But
Yeah.
anyway, yeah, leap day.
But
And
just
then
why
crazy.
February? That's
That
I mean that's strange.
I bet you there's an answer, but I'm not going to look for it.
Yes. Well,
you know,
I
it's a
may poke on it and see why.
it's a Google away.
Everything is a Google away, right?
Yeah.
Or a Copilot away or a
Well,
Chat
here they go.
GBT
Yeah.
away.
Right now, it's probably geared up or on deck in one of your browsers because Microsoft's
Yeah.
listening to Zoom sessions or Google's listening to Zoom
Yeah.
sessions. So when you get out, the answer is going to be there waiting for you.
And didn't somebody else just release something similar to Chat
Well,
GBT?
yeah. Yeah. There's a proximity. There's Gemini. That's the latest one because
That's the one.
that's the Google gig.
Oh,
All
okay.
right, and I'll let you in a little story there if you don't know it. Somebody did some history questions, right? Because it's an image generator. That's the cool thing. You can generate images like just by telling it what you want to see. Someone said, "Here, give me a picture of the American founding fathers," and they all came out black people. It's like, okay. Then that really got people going. Now they're just digging in. No matter what they do, they couldn't have the output be a Caucasian. So I think Abraham Lincoln, Benjamin Franklin, obviously it's a glitch. So Google pulled it already and they're going to fix it. Now,
Oh, wow.
the nice people in the world are saying, yeah, it's a glitch. It's a programming glitch. Because when I first heard about it, I'm going off because you guys are prompting it wrong. That's all. It's just a prompt thing. Get better at prompting. Well, then I find out, no, they tried to prompt the thing out of it. So now instead of it being an honest mistake, which I don't believe, but I think it's a mistake, but it illuminates the bias it was trained on. That's what it all comes back to. So when you hear about all this ethics and AI, it's how the software is trained that sets the software's bias.
Right.
So the trainers over at Google who are training Gemini, as the theory goes, were training them on in this particular perspective of history. So
Interesting.
it just came out.
Interesting.
Yeah, I know.
So will there be a left and right AI?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Mm.
There'll be a left, right, middle, up, down, in between. Yeah, it's gonna. All right, well now we're talking about. I think it's gonna fragmentize.
Yeah.
I don't even know if that's a word, but ultimately, I think we might have talked. It'll be your AI, Art. It'll be my AI. We'll all have our own AI on the
And
phone
which
or
one you
device.
prefer to use?
Yeah, it'll be yours, and the difference will be now you're going to work with other people's AIs and you can strip out or incorporate your own bias in whatever responses, just like we do as humans. We've all got biases. There's nothing, I mean, I have a bias against, cliffs and big snakes,
Okay.
so humans have had biases about not getting eaten by animals. So most of us don't play with big bears in the middle of the woods or bisons because we're biased. That bias is set up as a defense measure
Yep.
in theory, but whatever. So yeah, that's going to be real interesting how that goes, dude. And it is so fast. I mean, if you just think about 12 months ago, they were making images and whatever you did, the hands had 12 or 6 or 8 fingers. You couldn't now. It's like, whoa, it's like dead on. And that's just 12 months ago. So who knows what's going to happen in the next 36?
Yeah. Well,
So, yeah.
it'll be something to look out for, right?
Mm-hmm. And how's it going to help anyone sell or get out of the copier industry? That's the big question.
Right. Right.
I don't know what the answer is.
Yeah. Hey, so I had something else come across
Yeah, what
my
what do you
feed,
got? Okay.
and I wanted to ask you your it's in reference to companies getting into digital whatever
Digitization?
digitization,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Okay. Sorry.
And it was a stat they came across that said on a survey of X amount of participants, basically stated that 89% surveyed said they are not paperless at this time.
I think I saw that.
The next statement was the people who they surveyed stated 75% are planning to accelerate their digitation.
Okay. That makes
So
sense.
so I think we pondered on this 3 or 4 shows ago.
Mm-hmm.
And what is why is there still 89% that haven't gone paperless? I don't think it's the technology, right? I mean,
No.
we know the technology is there.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And it's gotten better and it's getting better all the time. Hey, first off, I think that I would look into the survey questioning
It's
because
from a pretty renowned um,
is it
company.
are they in the business of digitizing and moving from paper to digital? Is that,
Well,
I mean,
it's a
you know what I
company.
mean?
It's a company that starts with a Q.
Oh, well, I'd look at the survey because listen, so if you ask anyone that's working right now, is your office paperless? Everyone's going to say no because they're not. When they think paperless, they mean, nothing. No scratch pads, no newspapers, no memos, nothing at all.
Right.
Zilch. Well, no one, I don't think, is at 100% paperless. So that's if it's not a binary yes or no, unless you ask it that way.
So
Okay.
it all depends on how they perceive paperless. Does,
Right.
does, does paperless mean there's not a sheet of paper in the office, or
Right.
right?
So, and then, that comes down to the survey question. Be that as it may, let's just say it's 60%, whatever. It's a pretty high number, right? So the whole thing there, the story is that, okay, there's so much more out there to digitize. There's no more, print or paper hasn't left the office yet, like everyone thought. And B,
Right.
there's a lot more room. So if we look at that study and maybe find out who sponsored that study, if a scanning company or a company that works for some document management firms sponsored the study or is a sponsor of the analyst, that might be why it ended up that way. Forget about that for now, the conspiracy there. I think the whole juxta that is, hey, there's a ton of scanning yet to be done. The move to digitization is to move what's on the paper into the cloud or whatever, into the go from analog paper to zeros and ones.
Or to
That's
get it into workable data.
Right. To get it, you know, and I would agree with that. Right. I think there's, which is interesting if you think of it even more, is there more out there now than is going to be generated? Which I think maybe that's true. So maybe there's a, you know how in the what 1990s we were generating more copies, more paper than we were scanning, right? Or ingesting into systems. And is that balanced out now to where we're, you know, for every, I don't know, 10 images that are copied, we're digitizing 10.
Right.
You know what I mean? So maybe it's going, well, we're digitizing 80 to 20 or 90 to, you know, maybe that's happening. But
Right.
you know, I would agree that yeah, there's still a lot of way to go with digitizing what's on paper. But I would also say, dude, I've been to offices where they used to have, you know, rooms and rooms of filing cabinets. They don't have them anymore,
True.
right?
True.
Even if you look at some you know, medical networks, right? The papers, they're not paperless because your doctor still writes on a script of some sort. Okay. But they don't have those big hanging file folder cabinets anymore.
Mhm.
Those green, they don't. That, you know, and if so,
Yeah,
if you
and
want to
when you
really
go there,
monitor, yeah.
when you go there, you get a tablet that you've got assigned to, or you got to check
Hmm.
everything off. Right. Right.
All right. So
Interesting.
yeah, I agree with
So,
it. So there.
so what do you think? You think scanners will last longer than copiers?
I think, yeah, but not by much. I think so. But because we've been in, you know, it's weird. The subject comes up, and I remember because I might have shared this with you before. I sold or worked with a Panasonic dealership where they sold the scanners, right? And
Right.
back in the day, the scanners, those
Mhm.
things were garbage disposals. Staples, no problem. Paper clips, yeah, whatever. Deskew automatically. Despeckle, yep, this does it.
Right.
It's expensive and it cranks, right?
Right.
100 sheets, 200 images. Whoa. Well, Google was just down the road in Irvine, and they reached out to us and said, listen, we need to buy as many scanners as you have. It's like, well, you know, okay. Um, and they have to be fast. This. And they go, you know, obviously what, so what are you guys doing? What do you want to scan? And the dude looks at me, goes, not as a joke, says everything that's ever been printed ever. What? We Google wants everything that's ever printed into their system,
Right.
into the internet. Okay. And that was, 03, 04 ish, maybe
Right.
05 in that range, but in that range, right? So
Mhm.
that's what Google wanted to do. And if it started then, you got to believe that, you know, I know there's lots of paper still left, but still, that's been going on for almost 2 decades now.
Correct. But
Interesting.
there's decades and decades of paper.
There's centuries. Yeah.
Centuries
So,
of paper. Yes.
yeah. But
Interesting.
yeah.
Hey, so are you still in Florida?
Yes, I am.
Dirty dog.
It's
Got
81 right now.
you got little bit tanner than last week.
Yeah. It got warm again. It was cold down here. I mean, you know,
Really,
70.
really.
Yeah. Which is cold
And
for up
let
here.
me ask you, what camera are you using? Because I think my camera's messing up.
Oh,
I mean,
I'm just using,
my image is all fuzzy today.
well,
Does it
I'm
look
just using the
fuzzy on
one
your
off the,
end?
you know what it does? I didn't think so. But you know what does? You do, but your background doesn't.
Yeah, because
Sorry, dude.
no, I don't know.
Um,
I'm looking at that. And I'm going, what the hell's wrong with my camera? I'm using a good camera. I'm using a Logitech 920.
yeah. Well, clean the lens maybe. Or some of them actually have a focus on it, which I didn't know. I
Really?
honestly did not know. Yeah. There's like a little old school. I don't use it. The one I'm using
Nah,
is just right out of the laptop.
right. Who
That's
knows?
interesting. All right.
I have to go into the software. Maybe I can tell it to refocus.
That's true. Reset, refocus.
So
Yeah.
what's new? Anything new on your end?
Well,
Any
same
questions
old,
for
same
me?
old. I do actually. I do. Think about this. Okay. So it's on the HR and the hiring and all that stuff. So I write a little column over at the Imaging Channel. And we've been, and it's been a year or more new to copier sales,
Right.
right? So just, I don't mean trivial, but you know, tidbits. Because if you remember when you first get into anything, it's like, holy crap, what do I do now, right? So I would ask you, so Art, you hire a new copier rep down the road, down the street, copier rep, quota of 3 to 5 copiers a month, all right, hasn't sold a stitch, brand new, what would your advice be for their first 30 days? Or not to them, but in general, right? What would you design for the first 30, 60, or 90 days of a new copier rep in terms of training, orientation, and all that stuff?
So a couple things come to mind. Do they have
Mhm.
an existing base, or are they just there to go pound the
Oh,
ground
oh,
with net
oh,
new?
no, no, no. Gotcha, gotcha. Well, I'll paint the better scenario. So, A, they're new to sales. They
Right,
may have 12 months in something else, right? But pretty fresh.
right,
Um, it may even be inbound, so over the phone type sale. You know how that
right,
is.
right.
They are coming into an existing territory. Yes, there's myth.
Yep,
Okay. And we'll make it even more dicier. The territory hasn't been touched in over 12 months.
right,
Okay. There's a CRM data in it. There is an existing pool of leases, just
right,
your regular every terminate. And we'll say in the next 6 to 12 months, there are X dates coming up, and I'm sure there are. All right. So yeah,
right.
he or she is dropping into a territory, has little experience in sales, but not much in B2B or complex or anything like that.
Right,
Is not technically oriented, but can
right.
adapt. Young like
Yep.
stuff. What would be your 30, 60, 90 day path?
First, for me, if they were my reps, the first thing I would do is I would give them a short list of books to read about sales.
Oh, okay, that's
Uh,
good. Yeah,
Probably
what would you
some,
do?
some old school books, right?
Yeah, do you have any in mind?
Um, geez,
I,
what the hell? Sell like,
well,
um,
what like the Seven Habits or Win and Influence?
the
Um,
one, the one I like
oh,
is, the one I like is by, I can't remember his name.
what's it about?
He's an older guy. He's an older guy now. He's in his late 70s, but he looks like he put shoe black on his hair to try and look like he's 50. Um, it's a pretty popular name. It's on the tip of my tongue.
Is it about sales or cold calling or?
Tom Hopkins.
Oh, heck yeah, Hopkins. Okay.
That'd be one of my first books that I would say you've got to read this book, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it covers both knocking on doors, it covers telephone sales, it covers you know, how to, listen, how to answer questions. I believe that book covers almost everything that a new copier sales rep would need to know. And then, of course, you can get into additional books after that, but that's the
Mm-hmm.
first book I would recommend. Second, I would, and I understand they've got an existing myth, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, I would have them call or visit every client, probably make
Mm-hmm.
phone calls first because you can get more done. And just introduce yourself, nothing else.
That's it. Yeah.
And say, I'm going to send you an email. Here's my contact information. And I am now the rep that's assigned to your account, right? That's
Mm-hmm.
that's the second thing I would do. The third thing I would do is I would limit what type of companies to cold call and get net new business. I would give that rep a vertical, whether it's healthcare, whether it's architects, engineers, construction, whether it's print shops, which there's not enough print shops around, but I'm just mentioning
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but as a
a
vertical, yeah.
vertical, attorneys, title agencies, because there's just too much. There when I got into the industry, there was 5 copy machines and there was no accessories. The only accessories you could get is maybe an additional paper tray, or you could get a copier cabinet. But what you
Or a
bought is
fire
what,
extinguisher.
yeah,
Remember?
or paper tongs, right? But
Yeah.
but but that was the only offering. There were no accessories that you would do. I mean, accessories to me is at that time you could sell a cover for the copier. You could sell them a couple extra paper trays. Or because toner wasn't included, you could sell them some extra toner or some fuser oil. Our copiers now, there's too many of them, right? So I believe if you take one vertical market, right? And I always talk about architects, engineers, and
Right.
construction, right? After a few short weeks of speaking to only architects, engineers, and construction, they can hone their skills on what those clients are looking for, what their needs are, maybe what their expectations are. And when you speak to a new client, you can say, well, I spoke to XYZ Corporation and they're kind of like your company, and we were able to help them. I believe when you bounce all over the place, right? You're not giving them, you're not giving a rep a fighting chance nowadays.
Yeah,
You,
that's
you,
actually a really good idea.
you're just
Yeah.
not.
All right. There is a lot, and it just because they start in a vertical doesn't mean they have to end there, but it's a
That's
perfect
correct.
idea.
They
So
can
that's
bounce once
yeah, I mean,
once they become the guru of that vertical.
that's a really good idea. So I like that. All right. And then so how about on the other side, on the internal side, like what kind of training? You know what I mean? Because you know how it is. You could turn and you could be drinking from a fire hydrant, whether you're a $5 million dealership or a 150, 200, 300, $400 million deal. It's, even if you're actually, if you're one of the bigger guys, you've got every vendor will come down
Right.
and train the hell out of you. Right. What,
Right.
what, what kind of internal stuff would you do in terms of training? Like, okay.
I
Yeah.
would, so if the dealership big enough where they could afford a
Mm-hmm.
trainer,
Mm.
of course the trainer would have monthly 1 hour or 2 hour gigs to go over all
Okay.
different sorts of stuff in sales.
So this is very interesting to me, Art. So what you're recommend, and I agree, but I want to clarify. So, and to keep it in the new rep genre. So a new
Right.
rep comes in, but assume that the dealer has an not in-house trainer, right? So it's not going to be like, I hate
Right.
to name drop, but Impact, POA, they've got marketing and training, internal training departments,
That's
right?
correct.
But for the rest of the real world,
I'm going to leave it up to
right?
the sales manager. If they have a sales manager, I'm going to leave it
Yeah.
up to that sales manager, where that sales manager is going to have to take some time and maybe develop short courses where he
Okay.
can interact with those salespeople either weekly, bi-monthly, and do the old school one-on-ones, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Where I'm asking you questions and you're giving me the answer.
You're you're role playing
Role playing, correct.
effectively. Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Unknown caller.
Okay. Uh-oh. Someone unknown is calling you.
Yeah,
Could be a
South Bend,
UFO.
South Bend.
Indiana.
I
Notre
don't know
Dame.
anybody in South Bend.
The Fighting Irish.
Yeah, could have been.
Yeah. All right. So okay. So there'd be a formal, let's concentrate on brand new reps. Okay. So further, you've got 3 lines: copiers and printers, not wide format. And let's stay on that side for
3
now.
different manufacturers.
Kyocera, Canon, and Ricoh.
Yeah, well, that's the first problem. That's your first
Okay.
problem.
Well, but
Too
most
many.
dealers have that. Right.
Too many. Maybe that's why they're failing at keeping so many.
I agree, but that's reality. So I don't know, dude. What's the best? Would you say, all right, dude, from now for this month, you're going to learn all the Ricos, right? Or do you look at what's selling the most and say, okay, we're going to learn how, we're selling more work because everyone does that, right? You've got these are the ones we sell. These are the ones that always sell. And this is the one we pitch when these 2 are too expensive.
Well, yeah. Vertical market. Once I take that vertical market, I would see which machines fit best into that vertical market and try to help the rep out. All right. So in vertical market, and again, I'm going to go back to the AEC industry. right? Not all. And I haven't looked at some of the competitors in the space in a little bit of time, but at I do know, especially with the Rico products that I sell, they all do 12 by 18 paper.
Okay.
All right. 12 by 18 is half size of 24 by 36.
Okay.
So for architects and engineer who do plans, if they want to do a check plot, they could actually direct that check plot to the A3 machine that does 12 by 18 paper.
Oh, okay.
Those are the types of things that I would look for that say, okay, if you're in a vertical space, this is the reason why you want to lead with a Rico, right?
Got it. So you're down to the specs. Right. 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 Right.
Well,
Okay.
I think you have to be,
That's a
right?
good idea. Yeah.
Right?
So
Be-
yeah.
right? Because if you don't, if you're not aware of, if you don't know how they can benefit from the features of your machine,
Mm-hmm.
feature, advantage, benefit, right? Fab, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's how, if a vertical market, that's how I would position if I had three brands, right? And then if I had two brands that do 12 by 18 or that are exceptional for the AEC industry, then I would try and help them and break them down a little bit better as to why
I like that.
A
I
is
like
better
that.
than B and why
like that.
C may be better than B. Of course, as you know, anybody who has three brands is always going to have a value brand,
Right.
right? And that's for the price buyers. And
Right.
we all have price buyers. There's no matter what we say or what we do, they're
Transaction.
going to, yeah, they're going to be that price buyer,
Okay.
right?
Mhm.
And that's what you're going to have to train your rep. So when you're training your rep, if you're doing it in a vertical market, one vertical market, I believe you can get your point across uh, quicker than letting a sales rep go willy-nilly into any type of company for trying to find net new business.
I
It,
I agree.
it's your investment. It's the dealer's investment. So if you're spending
Right.
$45,000 a year to get this rep onboarded, and their annual is 45,000 plus their medical, you want to give them the best chance of succeeding.
Mm-hmm. Hmm. Well, I like that. It all start because so if you start with a vertical, then there's going to be an easier way to match hardware to that vertical, which makes it easier for that rep to understand and learn. Again, going back to what I said before, just because you started as a vertical doesn't mean, and if Ricos and
Yeah.
HPs for some reason,
Uh-huh.
whatever the line is, match well within that vertical, that doesn't mean you have to stick with that vertical. But that's a great way to start. And then even the sales manager or ownership can look at their own base and say, listen, we're doing pretty good with, we've got a dozen accounting construction companies that work with cement, whatever, electric,
Right.
whatever, it doesn't matter. So any new rep that comes in, we're going to throw them at that vertical. And that vertical means, yeah, you're going to have to know about the industry, but here are our machines that we've installed at like customers or like companies, prospects
Correct.
that were successful in that industry. And here's why they
Correct.
were.
And
And
you'll
this is what the value was when they brought it into their company. Yeah.
correct. And you'll have a better chance of
Hmm.
a rep will have a better chance of communicating with that client and closing that client, because in that industry, whatever vertical market industry they're in, everybody knows everybody. They know their competitors. They know their friends. They go to trade shows. They
Yeah.
you
It's a
know,
community. Yep.
it's a community.
Hmm. Well, I like that because it really takes the pressure off of the rep trying to learn everything. Because okay, this is great, right? All right, well now you're going to get into the machines don't mean that much because all my HVAC guys are moving to digital invoices with their, the PODs and everything. That whole there's the next evolution is into the software side,
Right.
which can be specific, and then hopefully you've got either you do or you don't. Doc Man solutions that are already in property management, right? So you've already got an EDM system installed, a couple different as a dealer. Say, all right, you're going to concentrate on property managers. We've got this
Right.
blah 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 blah. Here's their profile. Oh man, it makes it so much easier because now you're going to teach them this is what a
Right.
good prospect looks like. These are the machines that match that prospect.
Right. And how about after after they master the copiers or MSPs within that vertical marketplace, you don't give them another vertical market. You put them on document management,
Right.
or
You move them. Yeah.
you add managed IT.
Right. So that they become the true expert in that vertical,
Yeah.
not just on
Yeah.
copiers, but all the other stuff.
You know, years ago when I first did when I first started learning about IT and IT companies, I noticed that um, IT companies were pretty much they started out pretty much as vertical. So an IT company would only service and support healthcare companies.
Right.
That's all they did. Or they just serviced and support engineers. And they became experts in that, um, which which I'll be the first one to say, in my career, I've lost because there was a company that you know I was up against that was pretty much a vertical market in whether it was IT or whether it was copiers, and that's all they did.
Right.
Just to that vertical market. Now it really never took hold in the copier market, but it really took hold in IT, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when an IT company can
Interesting.
come up and say, hey, I've got 5 construction companies under my belt and we've managed them 24/7 for the past 5 years, you know, that client is going to feel awfully warm and awfully comfortable
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah, the IT company knows me, knows my problems, knows my 724 whatever that is, whatever it is, whatever it is.
correct. They
So
have good recommendations from my competitors.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Hey, you know what else it does? If you extend the scenario, it makes the rep, believe it or not, happier, right? So there's retention right there. So you're not going to
that's
throw
correct. Yep,
everything at them, at
that's
this
correct.
person.
Yep.
And if they get a little success under their belt because you put them in a strong vertical with the good support, you know what I mean? And they actually start selling into that. Boy, that's 100 times better than throwing them at the wolves. And hey, here's your everything from churches, funeral homes, salons, real estate offices, accounting systems, construction, manufacturers.
Right, right.
Ugh.
But you know, now you look at your marketplace. So certain
Mm-hmm.
marketplaces, it may not work. So when you're in you know, when you're in my area, which is, you know, probably has, I don't know if you remember the old NOPA. NOPA used to produce numbers and how many businesses are in your area. The Northeast has the highest number of NOPA. I believe it's NOPA in the nation.
Okay.
Right. So
Right.
when you're dealing with a megalopolis from Boston to DC, you know, it's every, you know, it's not like where you go to Oklahoma or Kansas and you can
Oh
travel
no.
20, you can travel 100 miles and there's only 10 businesses.
Yeah, you know what? That's interesting though. Yes, I agree with you. So I sold a lot in southeastern Michigan, all over Michigan. So you have the metropolitan area, nothing compared to Jersey or New York, but you get the flavor.
Yeah.
And it's automotive. So all the quote unquote, a lot of the manufacturers, small manufacturers were down there. But then when you get up into the thumb, it becomes more agriculture,
Yep.
right? But there would be a town that had 1 or 2 screw manufacturers or whatever, and they landed the GM account. So now that particular business, all the stuff you've learned in maybe the urban centers
Right.
are there. What you don't know is how a grain elevator works and what the paper flow is in
Right.
there. But you know,
But
go ahead.
yeah, I got another a thought for you on that since COVID changed everything and
Mm-hmm.
there's more virtual meetings now than in-person meetings.
Mm-hmm.
So why couldn't you give your rep, instead of giving them a 30-mile territory, you could give them a couple 100-mile territory?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It just comes down to service bubbles and crap like that, logistics and things. But yeah, you're right. I mean, I got a buddy who sells in Oklahoma and New York City or anywhere he wants. right? He's got no office, hasn't had brick and mortar since, oh my God, 2020,
Right.
21 in that range. Um, and that, and you know, the COVID thing actually helped them out. But yeah, you're right. You could have a territory that is not dependent on the drive, you know, to a certain extent. There's the other side of the image, the coin too. Is like people out there kind of like people coming in, right? Oh, you came up here
Especially
from the
in the
city.
in the rural areas.
Uh,
Absolutely.
That was in it. I'm sure you would agree with this. That was something that separated you.
Yes,
And
it still
I
does.
would still, I was going to say it still
Yep.
does.
Yep.
Yeah. Um,
Yep.
so I guess that falls into, these are just recommendations and ideas. There is no one size fits, especially nowadays. You can't, you remember the days when it didn't matter where you were from, you would go to, where did we go? Chicago for OSA training. You go one, and everyone got the same training. And the mantra was, doesn't matter if you sell on the East Coast or the West Coast, the North or the South, sales is sales. It's not. It wasn't then, and it certainly isn't now. Right? If you're good at selling, you can you can do it, but it's different in the South. Oh my God, right? Take a guy from New York and New Jersey and he's going to have to adjust to how they move in the South. And that's not being, I guess it is being biased. That's just the way it is.
We don't move as fast as you do up north. I
There's
like to
that's
take my time and think about things. I don't want to be
delusional.
pressured.
You can take your BMW and your ties and your fancy shoes.
And well, as you know, sometimes you gotta dress the right way
Oh
when
my
when
God,
you're out cold
yes.
calling too. If you're going to a farm or a construction facility, do you need to wear a three-piece suit? Do you need to wear a tie nowadays? I mean, can't you wear a pair of nice jeans and an untucked shirt and
Yeah.
a decent pair of shoes,
Yep. You're gonna be
right?
stepping in cow stuff. You don't know where you, yeah. I mean, that's,
Cow
yeah.
patties.
Yeah. Oh my God. Where do we go? Chicken. What is it? Not yes, a chicken farm, and where the eggs come from. An egg farm, I guess.
Chicken farm, right? Wouldn't it be a
Yeah. Well,
chicken farm?
there was a place where they process the chickens, and another farm that eggs,
Right.
egg, whatever,
Got it.
eggery. Well, okay. Other than a sheep farm, if anyone's been to either one, you know exactly what I'm talking about. There's an aroma that is unlike anything else. But what they do, I mean, there's all these little things you put on these feet things because they don't want any avian flu to come in on your shoes
Right.
into the hen house. All right.
Right.
Anyway, I don't know what, but those are the things you've got to. Hey, it's not
Right.
going to win it. Stuff like that won't win you a sale, but it could lose you a sale. Right. I
Correct.
mean,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
Interesting.
and one thing going back to the book, if you're going to give the sales rep a book,
Right.
you better have read that book yourself, right? And then I would give that sales rep over time some short quizzes on what you
Yeah.
read to make sure you read that book.
Yeah. I mean, maybe, yeah, formal quiz, but you should, I would imagine. So when I read a book and I read a book all over and over and over, right?
Right.
Because it's like, okay, I get that. Oh, well, all right, and then start making notes. It's kind of geeky and stuff and nerdy. But so if you can get to the point of that, then you really don't have to give a quiz because you're going to be able to tell if that guy or that person or that woman or whatever has actually read it and is applying it in the field, whatever it is, right? And
And
then,
and that would be the reason why you have to do the one-on-ones,
yep.
the role
Or
playing,
hey, how do you feel about ride-alongs in general?
Me,
Mm-hmm.
um,
Well, maybe not for you, but
I hate them.
mm-hmm.
I don't want anybody riding along with me. But again,
As a new rep,
as a new rep, I could help. I mean, I could help so many reps when they walk in the door, right? Because when
yeah,
you get out is when you have that 10-minute discussion or 15-minute discussion to the next ride
the
and say,
debrief. Yep.
okay, here's maybe what I would have done in that scenario, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's an old trick that one of my a company I used to work for, the one owner, what he would do, whenever he walked into a place,
Mm-hmm.
because sometimes, you know, when you walk in, you've got the reception area there,
Mm-hmm.
and you've either got a gal there or a guy there, and you've got chairs, and um, you're really not seeing much of the rest of the organization, right?
Right.
Or if they
Right.
have a little FM multifunctional machine there, he would ask if he could use the bathroom,
Absolutely.
right? Who's going to refuse you from using the bathroom? And he would go and get lost,
Mm-hmm.
and he would pick up all of this additional information. You know, old school copiers, you'd see a copier here, you'd see a copier there, maybe you'd see some other things that may enlighten you as to you know, what their processes are, right? But that was a cool little trick that he taught me that I didn't know about 25 years ago.
Yeah, those tricks. And the other thing that I would along those lines is if when you're getting into you're being walked back to the conference room, the guy says, "Hey," the person says, "You want something to drink?" Always say yes. And I'll go with it. Where's the car? And then walk with him, and then your eyes are open. You can see
Right. Yep.
everything. All
Yep.
right. And
Right.
oh, there's a machine over there. There's a machine. Oh, look, there's the Xerox tech is here.
Yeah, or grab that cup of coffee, right?
Grab the cup of coffee. Yeah.
Wonder why Wilma has all of this is mountains of paper on her desk.
All the paper, everything. And why is there a big note on the existing Rico that says "Don't use tray 2"?
Right, right. Or I'm broken.
I'm broken again. I mean,
Right.
it's hilarious, right?
Yes.
And I mean, of course, eyes open. Where's that supply closet? Holy moly, what's in there? It's like $15,000 worth of stuff. How many back in the old days? How many page, piles of paper and Manila folders are
Yeah.
there? All
Yeah.
that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and that's invaluable.
Yes, it
But
is.
see, and you know what I like about this is that you can take these quote unquote acquired skills from selling copiers and go anywhere with them,
Yes, you
right?
can. Yep.
You can go it doesn't
Anywhere.
matter. Yep.
And all those other companies who are looking at you or recruiting you, once they find out you've been successful in the copier industry, the world is yours.
I couldn't agree more. Now it used to be the headhunters would come after the
Right.
copier reps, right?
Yep.
Well, got to remember the Xerox training, that was intense.
Yes, it
And
was.
it was almost like IBM training back in the day.
Yep.
And then when Icon was around, I remember a lot of Icon reps got headhunted for pharmaceuticals and things like that. But
Yep.
yeah, you're right. The companies and headhunters really liked the copier reps because they came out of a trained system, and selling copiers, I don't know if anyone knows, is not easy. So if you can sell a copier, you can pretty much sell I mean, I've been saying this for years. You can sell copiers, you can sell anything.
I
I
agree.
mean, throw any type of objection to a copier rep and then have them go sell freaking, I don't care what it is, hammers,
Yeah.
B2B CNC machines. It's the same, anyway. But yeah, I like that. So I think the number one thing from today is the verticalization art because it works on both sides. It's the sales or the new rep doesn't have to drink from the fire hydrant, and the new company can mold or look at their, give that rep more an opportunity to bigger
Succeed.
opportunity to succeed, right?
Yeah.
Which in turn means, well, we should have lower turnover because in 90 days, if we let this person go in our strengths, they should sell one or whatever it is, right? They should be happier than after 90 days. And dude, you learned 4 different machines, 6 different accounting or whatever systems. You know how a Kyocera connects versus you know all that. I'm gonna say it, all that bullshit that you
Right.
really don't,
Right.
you don't need to know that. But they're forced down and all. The company history. Thought we shouldn't
Yes.
even get there because that is like the anyway.
Right.
But yeah, you verticalize it, trim it down, and then let them have some success or give them the opportunity, a lot more opportunities to be successful. They're going to be happier. They're going to stay with you longer. And your the whole thing, it just really, really spins nicely. Your customers are going to be happy, or your prospects, and
Right.
hopefully
Right.
you're going to grow
Right.
it.
Right.
Yeah.
After 6 months, a rep's going to come in and they go, gee, this this guy knows, my market. He knows my business.
Right.
His business acumen is better than I expected.
Or better than the other guy,
Correct. Yep.
which is huge.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is. Yes,
You
it
were going to say
is.
something, Art? What were you going to say? You going to ask me a question? Did you already ask me a question?
I think we've asked a
Sun is coming in. I'm getting a
couple
shower.
of questions. Oh, yeah, you gotta make sure you don't get sunburnt, right?
I think I might this weekend.
Yeah, I think I think it's 50, 51 here today. Weather still sucks here.
Yeah,
We got
it's going to get
another,
worse.
at least another 45 days before it really gets nice again. Oh, so last question before we go. 9-Star
Oh, yeah. What's up with them?
in the news yesterday. Is their motion to lift the ban on 9-Star products in the US
Mm-hmm.
was denied.
Do you know any more details other than yes and no? I mean, I don't know. I don't know.
As far as what I read now, they're gonna have to prove to the federal government that they were not involved in slave labor. So
I doubt
this,
they'll be able to do that. I
pardon?
doubt it. I doubt they'll be able to do that.
Oh, probably,
Hey,
probably.
all right. So that means that 9-Star is not going to be in the U.S. Which did any spin on the Lexmark situation then?
I haven't heard anything.
I mean, the only thing I've heard is nothing's changed. I mean, the government is still taking or putting RFQs out there for Lexmark devices. So,
Right? As long as they're not,
right.
from 9-Star, and from what I've heard, as Lexmark has cleared all that up.
They have. There were a couple, and again, I don't know that I have the documentation, but
Right.
I've heard that there were a couple of 9-Star devices that did not clear. But if you remember, they were just starting to come in. They weren't, Lexmark was Lexmark.
Correct.
And I think there was a hiccup in that they were being assembled in Mexico. So you couldn't call them, one of those things. But still, it wasn't in China. And
Right.
it wasn't, there weren't Wiggers there living in tents and pounding together toner
Is
cartridges.
that how you pronounce that? Wiggers?
Yeah, Wiggers.
Okay.
I think it's WYG something, 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 something. Yeah, Wiggers. I mean, geez, I heard about this 10 years ago. It's amazing that it's an issue now. It's like, it's all, so meanwhile, kids are mining lithium for your, well, Tesla doesn't use lithiums. All right. But whatever for your iPhone batteries,
Right.
but so, okay, Art, that's interesting. I don't think they're going to get through that. I don't think they will. And so someone somewhere, and this isn't the first time, was bringing up Lexmark could be spun off again. Maybe I don't know. Maybe this will fuel that even more.
Right.
I don't know. I mean,
Yeah.
we kind of open up the worms here, but there's a whole bunch of weird stuff going on. In Japan, they I think it was Sharp, Toshiba, and Ricoh. I could be wrong. I know Ricoh's in on it, but they formed some sort of
Toshiba,
manufacturing
Ricoh. Yep.
association of some
A
sort.
separate company where they both
Separate
work
company.
together to work on production of MFP technology and devices.
So Japanese, and that is they're going to protect what they can,
Oh yeah.
and God bless them. I heard that Ricoh is really doing and attempt. Everyone says they're moving to services, and they've been saying it for 100 million years. And still, it's like I said, beginning of the month we sell services. At the end of the month, it's a move a box, get it out.
Yeah.
So but I've been hearing things that they know they have to change and they have to circle the wagons. I think being the last man standing is probably, if you can be, that wouldn't be bad, because you know what? There's still
I don't know about that. Do you
billion. Oh,
really
really?
want to be the Polaroid of the industry?
No, if that industry, again, last man standing could be Ricoh or Canon, but I don't know. Polaroid, yeah, that's an example, but I'm not sure if that's in the cards here, because it's still, you still got third world countries, you still have developing countries that are still on paper,
I-
there might be a market there. I don't know.
I think the companies who are
That's a good
are
question.
ahead of the curve and is Xerox.
Mhm.
I believe Rico is ahead of the curve because there was a recent press release, I think, from February 6th, from the CEO of Rico in Japan, that basically touted their commitment to be a digital services company. I think you're going to see that from any of the manufacturers that have broadened their horizon into production print,
Mm.
established production print, and their next move now is to become that digital services company.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
think that companies that are just branching into dealerships that are just branching and taking on production, I think are going to be behind the 8 ball because they can't put all that money, they can't put all the money into both. So you look at, and I'm not saying anything bad about these companies,
Right.
but Kyocera, Sharp, right? Sharp just came out with production machines. Kyocera has their
They just
Task
brought
Alpha
one out. Yep.
15,000.
Yep. You've got, well, HP still has Indigo.
Toshiba doesn't get into production, right?
Konica has
Lexmark
their,
doesn't get into production. Konica Minolta is already there. But
they're
if
there.
you read the press releases from Konica Minolta too, they just had a decent press release over a robotics. I think it was either a merger or an acquisition.
Yeah, that's the thing
So
to look out for. Yep. Yep.
for me, the long play in our industry is robotics.
Yeah.
Planned obsolescence, consumable items, software upgrades, and you're still going to need a break and fix.
Yeah. 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 I think we've had this conversation.
Yes, we have.
Well, I'm coming from the robots will fix themselves.
I think that'll be quite a long ways away until,
I know.
until the robots fix
I know.
themselves. Until we get to Star Wars, right? Where every droid can work on every other droid.
That's right. That's what I'm saying. It's crazy. Now you got another 2-hour conversation coming, so we're not going to do that. But
No, we're not going to do that. We're not going to do that.
Well, this one's been good though. I mean, I really liked going into the in-depth, your new rep. What would you recommend? Because it makes so much sense, but I haven't heard anyone say that. So I don't think you're ripping off anyone, Art. I think you're right on. I like that. And
Right.
it's excellent.
Right, all coming from experience and all coming
Yeah.
from, I wish I would have been trained that way. My training, when I first got into the industry, I got a Yellow Pages book.
Yep.
I got a Rolodex cards and index cards. And it was, okay, start at A in the Yellow Page ads and work your way down.
Way down. Yep.
But it was much easier then.
Yeah.
Because the phone call script was, hey, this is Art with XYZ Company. I'm just calling to see if you're in the need for a copier.
Mm-hmm.
That was
And
it.
yeah.
Yes or no, or I don't know. I'll let you speak to Mary or Bill.
And they did.
And then
they did.
And they did, right. And then I would say the same thing. And of course, no, we're not, or yes, we are, or well, why aren't you looking now? Because, plain paper, you can save so much money with plain paper. Wouldn't you be interested in us just coming in and showing you a short demonstration? Anyway, it was
And you'd wheel the machine in. I love it.
And we wheel it in. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. Well, hey, Art, should we mention what we're doing next week, or does that?
Yeah. So everybody, next week, we're going to have a very interesting event on March 8th. We're going to be co-hosting a show with the MPSA group.
Mhm.
And Greg probably is more familiar with the MPSA group than I. So Greg, if you could just tell everybody
Sure.
a little bit more.
Well, what we've got coming is a consortium almost to rip off Stamalio's name. But no, the Management Service Association, we're going to be with Laura, Ed, and Russ. I'll leave it at that. But we're going to talk it's going to be a roundtable discussion, much like what we're doing right now, but we will be able to ask them more pointed questions about industry, management services, technology, all that stuff. But these guys have been in the industry for a while. And one's a big from one of the big OEMs, other one's a statistics and analytics company, and another's a pretty big dealership. So looking forward to that. That's next week, March 8th at 4:00. Tune in then. It's going to be great. And I think we've probably got some more stuff coming in the future. But the big deal is tune in, and for God's sake, if you want to ask a question, either email us or get to us on LinkedIn or whatever. But hit us up, because you're not going to hear what everyone else is saying here. That's for darn sure.
Yep.
And
And there's no dumb questions.
there are no dumb. I mean, look at us. I make dumb questions part of my repertoire.
We all learn
It's like
from our dumb
our
questions.
dumb questions, yeah. But
So
anyway, Art,
everybody,
okay.
yeah,
Yep.
I'd like to thank everybody for watching the show, and please like and subscribe to the show. Again, we're doing this every Friday at 4:00, and it's Ask Us Anything with Greg and Art.
Take it easy.